Yo, everybody, me and Buster Green here. Minor additional update this week on the WB collapse. If you're not caught up to date, this is a cool and collected follow-up to the video I did last week when I was like, oh shit, everything's going down. Long story short, Zaslav has decided that because he's such a failure, because he's dissolving Warner Brothers Discovery back into Warner Brothers and Discovery, he's selling off everything along the way, and I mean everything that isn't nailed down is up for sale in this chaos. I might as well clarify the information I currently have on the table. So WB Discovery is once again resplitting into two companies called WB and Discovery. The biggest difference is that the new Warner Brothers is going to be a hell of a lot lighter than the old Warner Brothers, as a majority of the Ted Turner channels are being liquidated and sent out to die in the killing fields with Discovery. Seemingly the only exception here to this is Cartoon Network / Adult Swim, which have already ceased to exist as proper TV networks, mere shadows of their former selves, and have been wholly absorbed to become a subsidiary office of Warner Brothers Animation. Since Warner Brothers Animation owns them now, they literally can't leave. They are slaves. This ends up being a mixed yet complicated blessing, as WB seems like they're planning to hold on to all the creative IPs, and they're just letting the channels go loose, and now they're going to have to buy back their own IP in some preposterous move. Anyway, in additional preposterous news, Zaslav has announced that he's going to be renaming Max back to HBO Max because the experiment has failed. The entire Max experiment was a big mistake, and to basically make it clear that none of this ever happened and the redivision is in play. So yeah, Max is undigivolving back into HBO Max, and all the Discovery Channel reality shows will disappear along with that fantastic name change. Of course, though, since Zaslav has also peeled and canceled away so much legacy content off of the channel, it's going to be a real empty shell of its former self in the end. So I imagine people might be thinking long and hard about keeping their HBO Max subscriptions going, especially as the United States heads into a very dirty recession. I do think there is no real upside to this deal unless Zaslav lowers the price of HBO Max back to what it was when it started, or if they make like a huge, strong investment in Cartoon Network. Like if it came down and I had to pay for either Cartoon Network or HBO, I'd ultimately pay for Cartoon Network because I want Cartoon Network to come back. Anyway, as for the other channels, it's bad. TBS seems like it's probably going to get deleted or otherwise merge with TNT. TNT seems like it will probably survive on its own volition. DC is in a huge flux right now, with everything counting on Superman for them to stay at WB. If Superman fails, they walk, although I am kind of horrified to see that there's some diehards on the fuck Superman end of the spectrum that have begun bullying and body shaming Superman's dog this week. Come on, man, leave the dog alone. That dog didn't do anything to you. Do something better with your life. The other real mystery right now is what the hell is going to happen with CNN, and I guess that's what I'm going to talk about for the rest of this video. CNN is honestly in serious danger right now, which is fascinating because that's an interesting situation. CNN as a channel has never quite been in so much peril, and hey, this is a dumb excuse for me to make a 3D model of CNN Tower in LA. Ooh, 3D model. Ooh, look, it's so fancy. Okay, anyway, yeah, so overall, I'm not a huge fan of CNN right now. Anderson Cooper is kind of a freak in my opinion, and any other respectable person working at the network has either been let go for standing up for common decency or banging an intern. Sometimes both. I'm pretty sure the last time I ever watched CNN willingly was the day Michael Jackson died, just because that itself was an absolute shit show. Now, modern day CNN is unfortunately basically useless. I feel like in the heyday of CNN, they had a nice balance where they would have some politicians spewing crap, then they would do some basic world news, and in the middle of the night, they would have the occasional high-speed chase just to keep people watching and keep it interesting. But over the years, CNN somehow morphed into being completely irrelevant. Almost 100% of it now is just politics and talking heads, and strangers arguing with each other about nothing, putting the news to the back burner. And somehow beyond that, a few years ago, it also tried to be like a vague and useless attempt at copying Vice News by releasing these low-quality news documentaries about things that were so bland and boring that it typically didn't matter to anyone. I did see some people saying, well, good riddance if CNN goes down with the dogs, who needs it? Well, I'm also kind of divided on that right now. I will admit that right now, CNN is about as bad as they could get. They're basically at ground zero right now. I could definitely see some mysterious benefactor coming along and restoring it to glory, but I'm not sure if it can be restored to glory if it's separated from the other Turner networks, because its greatness in the past has always sponged off the success of the other Turner networks and used them to keep it afloat. This will be the first time in history it's fully detached from those and working on its own merits. There was also this big rumor 2 years ago this time that Zaslav first started considering selling CNN at that time, and back at that time, CNN's old CEO, Jeff Zucker, came running out of the woodwork, seemingly wanting to buy the network if it went on sale and put it back to the way it was. Now, Zucker ran the network through most of the 2010s, not super successfully in my opinion. He created its current bland, meaningless era. Nonetheless, he was an enemy of Zaslav and Trump, so over time, he was driven out of the network and replaced with like a yes man. There was a big sex scandal and he resigned in shame. Now, if Zucker buys CNN, I don't think he would destroy it, but at the same time, from his previous leadership, I don't think he could make it much better either. I guess what I'm more concerned with and what I feel like is more likely to happen is Zaslav might sell CNN to a random, heartless billionaire who will probably destroy it or do something equally horrible with it. Like, there was definitely at least one point in time where Elon Musk said he would buy them simply for the sake of shutting them down and keep anyone from recreating them. I currently believe Elon Musk lost a lot of money this year, so I feel like he doesn't have enough time to dedicate to that revenge scheme in particular, but there's definitely a slew of other billionaires who could buy CNN just to destroy it, or otherwise warp it and turn it into something incredibly stupid. Like, imagine a world where CNN is just like a channel where Gatorade commercials air 24/7, or it just becomes like a stupid propaganda arm for whatever stupid company decides that they can use it to actively back up whatever the hell they do. Like, famously recently, Jeff Bezos bought the Washington Post, and he effectively neutralized it, making it an absolute nothing burger that's relevant to no one. I know it's still around, but at the same time, it hasn't done anything good in years at this point. So yeah, Bezos could do the same thing at CNN, just neutralize them to make them nothing. At the same time, the future for CNN looks pretty dark. While Zucker would rewind the clock on them, probably ineffectively, not to any sort of success, any other buyer seems like they mostly would buy it just for the sake of straight up burning them to the ground and defeating them as an enemy. Absolute best case scenario here is someone buys them without evil intention, or they somehow manage to survive on their own after Zaslav just sets them free into the wilderness. I'm not sure though if they can survive disconnected from a major benefactor, so it's a big mystery. Anyway, if CNN dies, will we miss it in any capacity? I don't know. I guess I'll kind of miss what it stood for, but I'll miss what it stood for in the 80s and 90s. It's, at this point, a weird zombie channel, kind of like MTV, where it's still around, but because it doesn't serve its original function, people don't admit it's around. Like, people have nostalgia for MTV, but they have nostalgia for 80s MTV, not the nostalgia for MTV that still currently exists. So yeah, I guess that's overall what's happening on that situation this week if you want an update. All right, leave me one in the comments. Do you think it's bad if CNN gets outright destroyed? Do you think it's bad if CNN gets turned into a Gatorade commercial? Do you want CNN to get back to healthy? I mean, like, if you ran CNN, how would you run it? Tell me that. All right, yeah, that's what's going on. We still don't know the full spread of the Warner Brothers Discovery collapse, but it seems like it's definitely landing on all the TV channels are going away except for HBO and Cartoon Network, which are somehow surviving as their own thing. So stay tuned. It's definitely going to be another shit show. Woo.